Are you fucking kidding me, man? Come on. Wow, man. What the hell? All right. It never it's never done that before though. So, Cars boy, what happened? I lost connection to the server. It just timed out. I don't know why it did that. Like I was just telling them, I was just telling everybody else that that's never happened to me before. So I hope that don't I hope that don't happen again. That was kind of weird because I've streamed multiple times and I've never had that happen before. You think I think it cut out again. It's showing that I'm still alive so far. It hasn't popped up yet. Um, oh boy, that's I hate that. Yeah, but going back to what I was saying though, like it doesn't sit right with me that Goodyear is being pressured by NASCAR to bail them out because of their shitty car. And this car ain't complete shit. At least it races well on mile and a halves, but it needs work at the road courses. It needs work on the short tracks. It needs work at the super speedways. And NASCAR, they've worked with the car a little bit. Like I remember last year, they took the I think they ran a test with the underbody completely off. They've done some stuff with the diffuser. I think they tried to mess around with um the shifting, but yeah, they haven't made any significant changes. Obviously they don't want to touch horsepower, so we'll get to that in a little bit, but yeah, they so now all this pressure is on Goodyear and Goodyear is failing. They are failing themselves. Like they're not bringing tires that's wearing out. Um but once again, it goes back to the car. This car has a wider tire. It doesn't have that much horsepower, so Goodyear has to make, you know, a really, really soft tire. And even when they make soft tires, they don't wear that much. You'll be lucky to get like a second of fall off. And then, they advertised the 4 seconds of fall off at Watkins Glen, and we only saw like what, a second and a half at most. So they gotta, I don't know, man. Like NASCAR, they have to take accountability and look at this car during the off season. Like they gotta, all hands need to be on deck during this off season and try to get something done. I don't understand why you don't want to mess with the horsepower. I mean, some people are going to say like, well, for manufacturers and all that cost cutting bullshit. I don't want to hear nothing about new manufacturers and all that. Teams, OEMs, um, you know, engine bills. haven't changed since they lowered the horsepower. The OEMs are fine with upping the horsepower. And I'm not just talking about upping the horsepower to 750. I'm talking about taking the taper space off and letting these things like actually rip, like getting them to 1,000. Like I think these cars are capable of making like 1,000 horsepower without that taper space on. The rear tires need to spin because right now the rear tires with 670 horsepower, I mean, with this wider tire, I mean, these guys can just put the power back down so easily, and nobody. When you can put the power back down, you're not really the car's not sliding around that much, and it's easy to just control. Because Kevin Harvey talked about this on the Dale Jr. download. If you got like a lot of horsepower, you have to approach the corner a lot differently. If you got a ton of horsepower underneath the car, you got to be more methodical with how the way you apply the power because the tires are when you got a lot of power underneath the hood, it's going to be making the tires spin more. So I just don't like horsepower. I'm not saying it's the ultimate solution, but it needs to be looked into. And I'm not like once again, not 750. I'm talking about taking the taper spacer off and at least for the short tracks and road courses. You can leave it at 670 at the mile and a halves and 2 mile tracks. But when it comes to these road courses and short tracks that's basically a mile and under, you need to take this tape of space off. Uh, Toe Beast is in here. Danny Alex, what's up? One wise guy. What up, everybody? What's going on? Um, will you ever cover the NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour? And if you're into it, and the tracks that they race at. They have two big events coming: Stafford Speedway Fall Final and Thompson Speedway World Series. I watch the Will and Modify series sometimes. I don't watch it faithfully. I don't watch it like I'm not glued to it, but I do uh check up on it every now and then. They'll never do this, but it would be super beneficial if they got other tire manufacturers to compete with Goodyear. I, Either that or just get rid of Goodyear. Now I just heard now they re-upped their Goodyear not that long ago, so Goodyear they're not going anywhere. But I would love to see Firestone or Michelin come along and just try to produce tires for NASCAR because I know it's IndyCar and NASCAR are completely different, but when I watch IndyCar, it seemed like their tires, they actually produce tire wear, and I would like to see that for NASCAR. Like you'd be lucky to get like a second of fall off nowadays. Now, if you go to a track like Darlington or Homestead, basically tracks that's worn out, you're gonna naturally get a lot of tire wear anyway because the track surface is so rough, so it's gonna chew tires up anyway. But uh, yeah, I would love to see Firestone or Michelin or somebody. I wouldn't mind seeing me. I wouldn't mind seeing a Tire Wars Part Two. But yeah, Goodyear they gotta. I hate that they got pressure being put on them by NASCAR, but they're still failing at producing a tire that actually wears out. Because the amount of tire wear I like to see on a weekly basis is about 2 to 2.5 seconds of fall off, maybe even more than that. I feel like if you can get it to that point, like 2.5 seconds, I feel like that would be that would be great. You're not gonna really notice anything, and then not to mention these cars. Like it seems like everybody is falling off at the same time. Is for the most part, and it's weird. And Denny Hamlin he talked about it on his podcast. Like everybody's running the same times, even when the tires wear. It's weird. Now, I think the explanation to that is SMT. Like people probably know like what to do. Like I think everybody I think SMT does play a role, and I talked about that in a video. SMT does play a role. Like everybody drives the same. Everybody's studying up on each other, and they know what the fast guys are doing. So everybody's pretty much just copying each other, and that's probably what's going on when even when we see like high tire wear races. So yeah, it does not. It's not a good look, man, to just have Goodyear just. I mean, to have NASCAR just look at Goodyear, because I think Eldon Sawyer came out yesterday. He was like, "We're baffled by the results of the Bristol race by not really seeing any tire wear." And I'm just sitting there looking like, "You're baffled. We're baffled that y'all are not sitting there taking responsibility for um, not realizing that it's y'all car that's producing the bad racing." So I don't know, man. Like until NASCAR, they'll never take accountability. It's been like that for years. So I don't know why I'm even going on about that. Stop blaming Goodyear. NASCAR needs to increase the horsepower. That's the thing. I'm not even really blaming Goodyear. I'm being critical of like them. They need to produce more tire wear, but I'm mainly blaming the car. So that's where I'm at with it. Need more power to the rear tires and less grip for the rear tires. Yeah, Thompson Speedway, another track cup should race again. I wouldn't mind seeing that. You have to finesse it. Yeah, if these guys have a lot of horsepower underneath the hood, you know putting that throttle down will be a challenge for a lot of these guys. And then something to think about: a lot of these guys, I think like a good 75% of the Cup field, maybe more than that, has never driven a Cup car that has over 900 horsepower, not even over 800 horsepower. So that would be new to a lot of these guys. So it would take for them, it would take some time for a lot of them to like get accustomed to that. And they'll really be out of control. I'm talking about like the Ty Gibbs, the Bubba Wallaces, Alex Bowman. No, Alex Bowman, he's driven an unrestricted Cup car before. Um, who else? Like just Ricky Stenhouse. A lot of these guys that came along after the tape of spacer was installed. No, Ricky Stenhouse he came along in 2013. You guys know like the drivers that came after 2015 when the tape of spacer was put on. Like these guys, they never driven an unrestricted Cup car, so it would be new to a lot of them. We need to get 900 horsepower back in these things at short tracks. I would love. The thing about it, I would love to see 900 horsepower back at all tracks, like mile and a halves, everywhere besides the super speedways. Obviously they can't have 900 horsepower there. 5 8 mile long straightaways, 23 degrees of banking each corner. Thompson Speedway, it's an amazing track. I agree. I wish, I don't think they'll ever take the Cup Series there, but I think maybe they'll go maybe the Truck Series and maybe the Xfinity Series can go there. I don't know. Uh, OJ saying, "What up, one wise guy?" Uh, wish Hoosier was back. American Racer as well. Yeah, like I said, I would love to see a Tire Wars Part Two. Um, but or like I said, I would like for Goodyear to just go away because they've been dropping the ball since 2008, man. Like ever since the Brickyard 400 back in 2008. Um, they've been dropping the ball ever since then. And to give them credit, like for at least this year, like they have gone in the right direction with the tire wear, but it's still not enough. So Um, what's going to be the biggest surprise of the next cutoff? I was watching Iceberg's video earlier about the he was previewing the round of 12, and he said that Denny Hamlin might get eliminated in this next round. I disagree. I think Hamlin will be fine as long as he doesn't, you know, have anything. I think if he just goes up there and does what he does usually, like and just race, I think he'll be fine. No sitting back at Talladega. Um, I feel like he'll be fine at Kansas as long as nothing doesn't break. I feel like Kansas is an easy top five for him. Toyotas, Toyotas, man, they run Kansas on Speedway. The only driver or manufacturer, the only person that can keep up with the Toyotas at Kansas is Kyle Larson. It's always Kyle Larson versus the Toyotas at that track. So, um, I think I think that that's what you're going to see again this weekend, which I'm cool with. I kind of like that rivalry between Larson and Toyota. It's either a 2311 racing car that's up there or Hamlin most of the time. Let's see. I would like to see Hoosier or Fire. I think you meant to say Firestone, Cars boy. Yeah, if I'm cool with Firestone coming in. I mean, man, just as long as we don't bother, we don't have another tire fiasco like in '89 and '94. Uh, Goodyear owns Mickey Thompson. Would like to see them run those as an option. I'm open to anything at this point when it comes to like tires. I mean, the changes need to be significant. Now, I remember Denny Hamlin talking about groove tires the beginning of last year, and we haven't heard anything from NASCAR about that. But groove tires is another option, and that's basically kind of like a wet tire in a way. If you want to compare it to that, like it's kind of similar to that from what I heard. I seen how it looked. Um, I know F1 tried groove tires um back in like what the mid 2000s or something like that, or probably earlier than that, because they was trying to get the cars to be slower in the corners. And I think the reason behind that was because you know Ayrton Senna's death had a lot to played a huge role in that, so they was trying to get the cars to be slower in the corners at least. Um, but I think they ran into like an issue. I think I forgot what it was. I got to look it up, but they eventually ditched it because I think a lot of race teams didn't like it. So yeah, maybe the shoes. Maybe well, I can't. My bad. I can't read your message on Told Beast. Maybe I think you meant to say choose and try to reduce tire size, but as you said, NASCAR won't do the right thing and add lots of now. And see, making a tire thinner, they're not going to do that because, and that's another thing. NASCAR is in cost saving mode, so they don't want to make changes that's going to, you know, cost teams a lot of money and stuff like that. They're trying to be very efficient with the changes that they make. Now, here's the thing: horsepower is not going to cost them anything, just from according to what race teams have said, OEMs. So that's just a NASCAR thing about the whole horsepower debate. They're not adding horsepower because apparently, I guess, I don't know, it has nothing to do with manufacturers or anything like that. We heard from everybody, and everybody's open to more horsepower. Everybody in the industry, It's just the executives don't want to do it. They don't want to push that button. They don't want to pull that lever. So the only other options we got is continue to mess with the car aerodynamically and tires. So that's the thing that makes this so frustrating. But I don't know, man. Let's see. We had the formula for good racing 20 to 30 years ago. Why can't we put modern safety features in cars based on those models? I remember. So it's funny that you said that, Jeremy. I remember I was watching. It was a race. It was right before the COT era was coming about, and they the COT looked no different than it was an early version of the COT, but still. And I think Benny Parsons was showing it off. Like it looked basically like a Gen 4 car for the most part, but it was like they were showing like all the safety enhancements that was going to be part of this like at the time next gen car. And um I kind of just wish they would have stuck to that model, like the Gen 4 model, but just with the safety enhancements. And I think we would have been cool. We would have been good to go. Instead, they had to go with this whole different radical look. They started splitter braces and um, the wing and all this other shit that they started experimenting with as we got closer and closer to the COT era. So yeah, but yeah, I wish we would have had a Gen 4. They would have stuck with like how the way this Gen 4 looked, just with the COT, just with the safety enhancements. So when tires are made, they need to dry and cure over time. The spring race were rushed fresh tires, and that I believe is the difference. My uncle works for Goodyear in NASCAR, and he said they weren't cured. I heard about that too. I heard about that. That's crazy that they don't recognize that. Goodyear themselves, like, why didn't nobody come out and say that then? Because NASCAR doesn't have the answers, and apparently Goodyear, the ones that's producing these tires, they don't know the answers. But I did hear about that though, like how those tires weren't like the greatest tires back in the spring. Like I guess like how I'm trying to put this, like I guess when they said that okay, this is the same tire, like how the way it was made was the same, but in terms of like what you just said, like they weren't for last not last night's but Saturday night's race, and they said they were seeing the same results. It's a mystery, man. Like it's a big mystery. I'm not no expert. I'm just kind of giving my opinion on like what I've read and what I somewhat know. Uh, what's up, Chrome Diesel? What's up, man? How am I doing? Uh, pretty well, man. Just chilling with you guys, talking about the frustrating parts of NASCAR, unfortunately. Again, I wish I could be talking about something good. We'll get to something good in a little while, like Kansas. We'll preview Kansas in a little while. Um, I'm just talking about these tires right now. We discussing why these tires ain't wearing out and why NASCAR just refuses to put horsepower in the cars. Um, I don't know what they're going to do this off season. I just feel like that they can't just sit around and just cross their fingers that Goodyear comes up with a tire that's going to wear. I mean, the push they need to continue to push for that, but Man, I'm starting to lose hope in Goodyear, to be honest. Like, I don't know. They keep bringing these tires, and like, I bet you when we go to Martinsville, they talking about running a softer. What's there, a left side? I don't know which side tire is softer, but one side of the tire is gonna be softer, and we'll go see how that goes because I feel like that. What race is that last year? The one that Blaney won on the fall race. It laid rubber down, and the tires weared, but the tires took way too long to wear out. I remember that. Like, it took like 80 laps for the tires to like wear out, and then they would start to wear out, and then after that they stopped wearing. And I think Denny Hamlin talked about that on his podcast. Like, you see fall off, and then after a while they'll stop falling off. So that was weird. So it's just it's a lot of work that needs to be done. I would like to see some work done to the super speedway package. I know the talk right now is, improving these short tracks and road courses. That's the number one priority. But um I want to see some changes to the super speedways as well. Like, I want to see. I think they need to take some spoiler off. I think the spoiler height for the cars right now are like what, 8 inches. Take like at least 4 inches off the spoiler. Remove the diffuser completely, so that way these cars won't be so damn draggy down the straightaway. Um, but yeah, man, it's a lot of work that needs to be done. Unfortunately, uh, I honestly think. Let me make sure I'm not skipping over nobody's chat. Uh, or comment. I honestly think less aero dependency will improve things more than adding horsepower to the cars. Yeah, yeah, like I agree, but I'm trying to think about what can they do. Like I said, they removed the underbody last year at a test, and it didn't really do anything. Um, I think they ran without the diffuser as well. Like, or I guess it's the same thing. I I don't know, man. Like, um, I don't know what they can really do. It's probably some things I'm not thinking of at the moment, but I just think that you need to have these cars out of control, and that's why everybody's keep going to the horsepower solution. Like I said, it's not the ultimate solution, but I feel like if these things are like flying down the straightaway and you actually have to brake for the corner, put like really brake for the corner, you would see more, passing, especially on the long run. Cause and then that helps Goodyear out because if you got the rear tires really spinning with all that power underneath the hood, that creates tire wear. So then Goodyear doesn't have to produce the softest tire ever because the horsepower of the cars is like already eating the tires up from all that wheel spin. So I think that's why everybody keeps going to the horsepower suggestion. But I do agree these cars like they got to do something with the aero. I just don't know what they can do. I'm not an expert, so I wish it could be like Xfinity. Xfinity, you can get right up on somebody's bumper and get them loose, pass them by. In Cup, you can't even get within 3/10 of somebody. Like, it's bad. Or try to use tire companies that supply your local short tracks like Hoosier, American Racer, etc. for NASCAR short tracks and keep Goodyear for everything else as a hybrid. I'm open to anything. I'm open to anything. So like what? What tire does the Cars Tour use? If anybody can answer that for me, do they use the tires that you just named, Hoosier and American Racer? I honestly don't know what tires they use. I know that the Cars Tour, they you when you late model racing, that's all you're doing is trying to save your tires. I would stand by that. The 2011, 2012 version of the COT was damn good. It could have ran another 3 or 4 seasons. Yeah, like I said, man, people think that the only problem I had with the COT was that it was just ugly. That was it. And they made it look better as time went on. They took away the splitter braces and they got rid of the wing, and it was starting to look pretty decent at least. I still hated how boxy it looked, but at least it was starting to look, like a pretty solid race car again. Then with the Gen 6, they made the cars look good, but that's when they started to race like shit. Um, they didn't have enough tires made and have fallen behind in production from what I hear. Hmm. Uh, things are just ain't positive in past things are just ain't positive in past days. Bristol Aero Slogfest, social media discourse with people within the industry com- having complete disconnect. Geico leaving and FedEx reducing its presence in NASCAR. Yeah, don't get me started on the people in the industry uh, being disconnected. Um, and it sucks to see another big time sponsor like FedEx, reducing their sponsorship or pretty much leaving. Man, it's hard to try to figure out like what big time companies are left in the sport. Um, I know Kyle Larson has Prime as his sponsor, not his primary, but associate sponsor. So I kind of wish they could sponsor his car just for like 1 or 2 races and have him like do some commercials. He's one of the biggest names in the sport. I don't understand why they won't do that with him. Um, like I said before, they got to get these guys out there, try to, uh, you know, expose the sport more. Wish the only arrow, wish, my bad, I can't read tonight, y'all. Wish the only arrow these cars had was a 3-inch rear spoiler, and that's it. Besides the windows, yeah. Problem I think is the car body